Hello and welcome to the Heart of the Matter. My name is Omotayo and I am here with
Abisoye.
And we have a really cool guest on the show today. I like the word cool because she does a bunch of things and she has like a different approach to life. Her name is Oyindamola Fakeye. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here with us. Okay. So I want us to just start like, imagine no one has ever met you before.
Okay.
And they want to know all the million things you do. I know you work in art,
Yeah.
in education. There is mental health. There's like a productivity app. And then you're now working on a film project of some sort. So please, can you break down each of the things that you do?
I mean, I literally, if you look at my notebook, you'll
Yeah.
see I literally have a list. So I'm consistently listing like all the things I do just to be like, do I really need to do all these things? But so at the moment, I am a consultant with British Council.
Okay.
So I'm their West African arts consultant.
Okay.
So I consult on their projects for Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone and Senegal.
Okay.
I also sit as the director for Arts in Medicine Fellowship,
Okay.
which is a project that educates artists, healthcare professionals and students around how to utilize arts within the healthcare space.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll go to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also have an arts organization which is called Van Lagos,
Okay.
and basically we work around new media arts, so art and tech really.
Right.
So AR, VR, mixed and immersive technologies,
Right.
and God, what?
Sound Mind.
Sound Mind Africa, yeah. Sound Mind Africa is my mental and emotional well-being organization.
Yeah.
And finally, I'm co-founder of an app, called Life Architecture.
Life architecture.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's 5 things that you
Yeah.
counted.
Was
Yeah.
that 5, 6?
Yeah. I mean, and that's outside of like my other commitments like church, fellowship.
How, anyway, before we go into how you do it all, can you tell us kind of like the story, like which one started off and then how did you go through it?
I mean, so all my formal education's in health. So I was,
Right.
I was doing postgraduate study in health promotion when I decided.
What is health promotion?
So health promotion is really what health should be. It's not looking at illness. A lot of the time when we think of like healthcare and medicine, we think about illness. But health promotion is more about well-being and health and promoting health and healthy lifestyles and well-being. And it's crazy because this was in, I guess, 2005, between 2005, 2007, and this was like cutting edge. And I just thought, how can health promotion be cutting edge? Like, isn't that what the healthcare sector is supposed to be all about? So while I was studying that, I was accepted on a short course around arts administration and curating.
Okay.
And I had kind of thought about going into curating, so it came at the right time for me.
I'm sorry.
I know how, right?
It's like,
Was art always a part of your...
Yeah, so when I was younger, my dad used to take me to like creative dance class and arts classes. And also I used to do like aromatherapy. So as far as I'm concerned, like art and health have kind of been like in my life throughout my life.
right.
And like whenever I was stressed out, I used to always go to art galleries just by myself. So for me, art was always a personal healing. It was never really about anybody else, but it was for me, it was just something I enjoyed. And, I kind of did my list in order of what takes up my time because I've put Van Lagos a little bit down now because I've been doing it for 10 years.
Right.
And for me, it's really important that younger artists come in and fill the shoes of myself, Jude, and Emeka, who started the organization, because they're coming with that fresh talent.
Yeah.
And for me, when I was coming in, Bissy, who unfortunately has passed away now, she gave me so many opportunities that she really didn't need to.
Right.
And she used to really dump us in the deep end. She'd be like, you need to go to Portugal and do a talk on, cultural institutions. And we would have to go to Portugal, and do this talk. And, I would show up and I'd be like, hello, with my English accent. And they're like, yeah, where's the African person? But she really gave me opportunities that I feel it's really important that I give those opportunities. So, the 5 things I've given you are things that I've kept on my plate.
Right.
There's so many more things that I'm now having to give to other people. And I feel like I'm in a position to empower them. So I have to.
Wow.
I was just wondering, you were talking about the younger artists and having been in this space for 11 years. What would you say, first of all, moving to Nigeria was the responsiveness within the art and culture space, especially not being here? And now do you think that has changed with how we respond and think about healing and mental health as well with art?
It's changed so much. When I first came, people would be like, there's a contemporary art gallery? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Art in Nigeria? Like, you would expect someone to move to maybe the UK to work in art, not vice versa. But now there are like so many successful art platforms. And it's like international, like eyes are on Nigeria right now. I forgot to even say that I'm working on the Lagos Biennial as well. I hope they don't kill me. So, and that's coming up in October.
Right.
And so this week we were on the New York Times website and they said top art exhibitions or biennials to visit in the world. And they put the Lagos Biennial on there, next to all these amazing spaces just to show that Nigeria is on the map. And that's one thing I would say in just thinking about Bissy is that she put Nigeria on the map.
Yeah.
She made sure that Nigerians were being featured in international exhibitions and spaces. And now just part of that legacy is even ArtX. She was the first curator on that. And ArtX has done really wonderful things for the visual arts, and they continue to do that. So now I think just the average person is aware about visual arts. I think when you speak to the average person, they might say, I went to an exhibition on the weekend. Whereas, 11 years ago, 10 years ago, it had to be a real lover and appreciator of art. Now, in terms of mental health, so with Sound Mind Africa, I launched that in 2016. And I remember thinking, it's really lonely out here in this mental health space. But about, I'd say 2 years ago, I noticed a wave of more and more awareness around mental health and mental illness. And I feel like there's a lot happening in that space. And I just think because of the coverage that's, around now, around mental illness and also around suicide as well, I think different spheres of society are taking mental illness and mental health seriously. So it's now quite a prominent subject matter to discuss. So now I feel quite excited for what's happening in that space, especially and this goes back to my health promotion, I don't want to say I don't do mental illness, but my focus is around mental health. So I say it's just like, you might go to a heart surgeon, for instance, because your heart's not working because of what you've been eating, for instance. But you'd get different advice from a nutritionist than you would from a cardiac doctor. And that's the same way with me. So in Sound Mind Africa, I'm giving advice around living a mentally healthy life. Whereas if you went to maybe a psychiatrist, they're trying to work you through an illness and out.
That's such an interesting but important distinction, because we call it all the same things. Hashtag mental health. But then, how did you get into mental health? So there's, your entire story is just amazing. But then how did you single out mental health and why?
I think there's a lot of different things brought me here. One was, I say, the death of Robin Williams. And just as, an artist, a creative, he died of suicide. And I thought, I would hate for that to be an issue in Nigeria. So that kind of kick-started me. But also I had dealt with depression and anxiety myself. And I felt it kind of heightened when I moved to Nigeria and Lagos as well. Like Lagos has its own peculiarities. And I just thought, yeah, like how do people access mental health services?
Right.
And so I said, you know what, Sound Mind Africa can kind of be the signboard or signpost. So I'm right in the middle between lay people and mental health professionals.
Right.
And I think it's because I have that background in health, so I am able to understand kind of from just the lay perspective, like how do we present, you know, depression to just the ordinary person.
Yeah.
And then I also understand, like from a psychiatrist perspective, why they're working through certain methods as well. So we're kind of bang in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So how did you present these things like depression and mental health to people, and how did you bring in art? And again, how did they respond? Especially with thinking about different generations as well.
So we started running coloring classes, so mindful coloring. So there's not really much thinking that goes into it. It's actually more about clearing your thoughts. And the thing about mindful coloring is that it's kind of meditative. So most people think, oh, I can't meditate, it's just not for me. But once you start coloring in, you don't know when you just move into that flow. Yeah. So for me, it was like, I'm not like kicking the door, like, listen, like, screaming and shouting. I'm like, what can people easily do? Like, what can the average person easily access? Because it's all amazing saying, this is available and that's available. But if they can't access it, or if they need somebody else to actually walk them through the process, it becomes a bit more of a challenge.
Yeah.
So for me, and even with my art as well, I have that mentality of a 6-year-old should be able to access this and understand it. And so there's even work that I do with artists, like for instance, Yasa. We work together around providing an artistic perspective to emotions, because sometimes people don't have the words. And when you're working with young people, they don't necessarily have the words, but you could give them a picture and say, what kind of emotion is that? Is this happy? Is it sad? And I think it's less invasive. And I think culturally, we don't really have language around anxiety, depression. On Tuesday was World Suicide Day, and we were just talking about language, like in people's languages, how do they express their emotions? There's certain emotions we're allowed to have, and there's some we're not, and those ones don't have language. So how do people really express what's going on in their inner world? And so that's where I feel like things like music and art kind of come in. So my work with Arts in Medicine Fellowship is training, but the Arts in Medicine project is the actual, I guess, device that we use in the world. The other one is training, but the project is actually in hospitals. So we recently renovated the youth and adolescent mental health hospital, Shodi. And if you think about like young people coming into a hospital setting, and it's dreary, it's dark, the colors are not lively, they're gonna come in and they're gonna be depressed. It's not gonna encourage them. So we came in and we renovated the space, and it's just beautiful, like full of colors and playful. And it's not just the children who are coming into space, it's also their parents. And then it's also the people that work there. And so the work that we do is, we say it's 3-pronged really, because it's for the patients, it's for the carers, and it's for the people that work in those spaces as well. And we're able to bring in music, and like Mr. Kunle Adewale, who started the project, he's I don't want to say perfectionist, he's excellent. He believes in excellence. So the work that we bring into these spaces is excellent quality. The people we bring into these spaces are, renowned musicians, renowned painters. Like, you see their work and you want to purchase it. You hear the sounds and you're like, I want to listen to this.
What, right? The more, I keep thinking, oh my goodness, we should have gone on a break. But it's just so amazing what you're saying. So let's just hold on to that. We'll come back. We'll delve in some more. So please stay tuned. We will be right back.
I could feel myself falling, like saying, bro, you're falling. Wow, you're falling. This guy, you are actually falling down, oh. This stuff that you see on TV is happening to you. God is real.
Who are you?
Why are you black?
Welcome to the heart of the matter.
The whole world was looking for me.
She called me, she's like, oh my God, Ines, it's God that brought you back. And I just dropped to the floor.
I'm going to dive right into the heart of the matter.
What are your thoughts on Canada?
My thoughts on Canada?
Yeah.
Real random.
I'm really so excited today.
Just a tad.
Very passionate about leveling the playing field.
Listening is not the only aspect of communication.
I believe that the solution is from the bottom up. If you don't talk now, you talk later.
There's glory. There's glory.
So let's break it down.
Welcome back to the heart of the matter. We're here with Oyinda, and I love what we were just discussing about, like the hospital that was being renovated. As an architect myself, or at least I studied architecture, we talked, it's not something we have conversations about here in Nigeria especially, but just the idea of designing for health and sustainability, and not just in hospitals, but like you said, the colors of a room, the windows, do you have indoor, outdoor access, or even for older people, for how you're designing playgrounds for children, or office spaces or homes. I feel like we don't think so much about that. And I also love your emphasis on, even when I asked about depression and the coloring, again, you're focusing on mental health, not really depression, yeah. Right? And I feel like so many times we need to have those conversations, but at the same time, it's not, oh, I need to see a psychiatrist, I need to get these pills. It's like,
yeah, I need to get well.
You need to get well, and it's a lifestyle. It's not something you have to, okay, I'm well, I'm fine, go back to what you're doing. So, I mean, moving on, talking about design for health, I was interested in when you talked about life texture. Yeah. Architecture. I was just wondering what that was.
So, I mean, I'm trying to explain it in the best way, but I think in 2017 or 16, I was like, I really need to get my life together. So I hired a time coach, and so Olu and I were working together. He was just helping me get on top of my productivity and my time management.
Sorry, like you hired a time coach. It's like there's a coach for everything.
There is.
But yeah, to go on.
But he's like so much more. He's fully a productivity coach now. But it was back then. It was called Kairos Crunch, and it was really at the right time for me because I was about to leave employment and then go kind of freelance, but not really freelance. So I knew I was going to have a lot of time on my hands, right. But I was like, this time I have on my hands, I'm still going to be productive with it. Right. So I'm not going to be like, because I don't go to work, I'm not going to shower, I'm going to wake up at like midday. I was like, no. Even though I'm not going to work, I'm going to be up at this time. I'm going to go through this number of books. I'm going to, really take all these courses. Yeah, and I couldn't do that without Olu. So basically, it's now a time tracking productivity app that we're kind of developing. Olu is the lead on that, and it's called Lifekitect. So it's really about architecting your life, designing your life. And it's great because it's just about success. It makes me think about how success is pursuing a worthy ideal. So it's about whatever is successful for you. So if you're a mom, success to you or productivity to you will look different to, someone who's, I don't know, maybe a world-class cyclist or something, So you kind of time track yourself and you figure out what's optimum for me, like how many hours of sleep do I need in order to be the best version of myself? How many hours do I need to spend building relationships? So it's actually broken down into 10 segments. Right. So there's relationships, there's errands, there's commute, there's career development, professional development, personal development. So it's across the whole sphere and work. And you're basically tracking yourself for 24 hours. And for me, what I loved about it when we first got together is that I feel like overwhelm is also like a mental health issue. And a lot of people, stress for me is like, I'm overwhelmed, so I'm stressed. So when I was able to see all the things that I'm doing, you know, but on an hour by hour basis, I can be like, no wonder I'm stressed, because no one can do all this.
Right.
You know, I've got 168 hours or whatever, and I'm trying to do 368 hours worth of work.
Right.
So it helped put everything like on the table, like point blank. So I'm like, look, I'm looking at my schedule and I can't fit it in. So no, it's an easier no for people.
Right.
And like just working with different people and giving them that clarity and that freedom, for me, you know, I think it's like a pattern of what I do in my life. Yeah.
You've talked about all these things, but I know that your faith plays a huge role. I want to know, did your faith play a part in you deciding to do these things, or just in the way you then carry yourself doing all these things?
I mean, I always try and tell myself that don't compartmentalize your life.
Right.
Because I did that for a long time. And I think I want people to meet me in every sphere of my life and still say she reflects Jesus, right? So the way I do the work in arts, the way I do the wellness, just the way I, you know, my building relationship time, everything, you know, I feel like I try and take my faith with me into every sphere.
And because the arts are really tough financially in Nigeria. Like, no matter how much attention you're getting, and no matter how big the exhibitions are, if you can't tell your father that you're bringing home an artist to come and marry, it's like, where are you going to find money for rent? How do you navigate that in your own journey?
Okay, so I'm so glad you brought that up because, so I don't know if you've read the book, The 80-20 Principle.
No, but I've heard of it.
So I did an 80-20 analysis of my life. And basically it says that 20% of what you do brings in 80% of your income.
Right.
And 80% of what you do brings in like 20%.
Right.
So it was at this time when I did this analysis that God showed me that I was only spending about maybe even 10% of my time.
Right.
And art was giving me 80% of my income. And I was like, how? And then I was working in video art, like the most niche thing that you could ever imagine. So he was just showing me that, you know, like, it doesn't, like, it's not meant to make sense.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing is that, and over the 2 years where I was, and I say pretend freelance because I think I did maybe like 3 or 4 projects in that time. And the majority of the time was me just studying. I really I did Master Life in that time. I did Experiencing God. I did Mind of Christ in that time. I taught as well. You know, I really just wanted to know. I was seeking God in that time, and I had the chance to do that because of the projects that He gave me were able to, you know, sustain me.
Right.
And He just showed me that my work is not really my sustenance at all. It's Him. And so I've been really fortunate in that space. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that in many conversations I've had with people, more over the last few years than what I hear of in the past, it seems like there's not necessarily a movement, but God is like trying to get people in every sphere of life and trying to bring that, like, all of these is mine, I created all of these. So I love what you said about not compartmentalizing. And I was also wondering, how do you, especially here in Nigeria with faith and also mental health, have you seen a lot of those discussions? Because sometimes we might get too spiritual and be like, no, I'm well in Jesus' name. But how do you bring that in a holistic but also a Christian way?
So last year I wrote a book with a pastor, actually. So it's called 6 Quick Ways to Cultivate Mental Strength, I believe.
So, like, on top of everything that you do, you wrote a book.
Yeah, but you know, it's a very easy to read book. Like, we made it super easy to read, and it's very short and practical. And I think it's really important that I wrote that with the pastor, just so that you can see that you can be like all about faith. You can stand for faith, you know, and still stand for mental health and emotional health and emotional well-being. And I think in the next few years, I do want to do a lot more around educating faith-based leaders around that whole space, because I just feel like they have an authority, but they don't necessarily have all the knowledge. And I think if you are a person of faith and you're also a person who has sound medical knowledge, there's so much good you can do.
Yeah. So as you're talking about mental health and faith and all of that together, I can see clearly why people struggle with needing to see a mental health professional when you can make all these declarations and, you know, as a man thinketh in his heart, and I declare I have the mind of Christ. At the same time, very many people are intellectually aware that medical sciences are very helpful and beneficial and even inspired by God. However, in the moment where you're in a crisis, it can feel like they're contradictory and you don't know what to do. If you're holding on to faith, then if you call your shrink, is that a bad thing? But then if you're holding on to, like, how do you navigate that? Or how do you think they work together?
I mean, to me, I think every situation is different.
Right.
If you have a relationship with God, you can ask him, you know, and he doesn't necessarily do the same thing every single time.
Right.
So the reason David won all his battles is because he always went back to God to ask, what is the plan for this time?
Right.
You know, and, you know, God might say, you know, this time, this goes out by, you know, so this might go out by you making a declaration.
Right.
This might go out by you doing something else. And I think a lot of the time we're so focused on our own role and ourselves in the situation, but we have to remember that we're actually part of a bigger plan.
Right.
You know, there's so many people that they're in hospital and next thing you know, they have a miracle and the miracle changes the lives of the people on that ward.
Right.
So we're part of a bigger plan. So I don't really like to think about it like in terms of, oh, you have faith to do this or you don't have faith to do that. You might not have the energy to do something.
Yeah.
You know, when Elijah was feeling weak, what did God do?
Like,
Fed
eat,
him,
yeah.
let him have sleep. He didn't say, you know what, you're feeling weak, so you don't, I'm done with you, you know, or, you know, there's a time for nursing people as well.
Right.
So I just feel like there is a time for everything, really. Yeah, they work hand in hand for me.
Yeah, I love that. And then you have the projects that you're doing, like you're doing something with the British Council. Can you talk to us about that?
So we have a really big project at the moment, which is the Lagos Film Lab. And it's a British Council project in partnership with Lagos State Employment Trust Fund.
Okay.
And it's facilitated by Biola Alabi Media and Creative England. And what we're trying to do is empower upcoming new voices in film and give them the opportunity to make their first feature film. And through the support of Biola Alabi Media, those films will be released in the cinema. Aside from the main project, we also have supplementary events like seminars and fireside chats. And that gives just the general public the opportunity to gain experience and gain knowledge in the film industry, just around, you know, financing, developing, script writing, and you also get the opportunity to meet with UK creatives as well.
Right. I just wanted to say, like, what kind of I got from this episode beyond everything. To summarize it, I think one thing I got was that art can fit into anything, which is something that I've never really allowed myself to think. But yeah, just like art can fit into anything. It's kind of amazing.
I feel like art really is everything. But just the idea that health is like a lifestyle and literally have like so many resources around you to keep you in that. So rather than, okay, I'm sick, when do I get well? It's like, I mean, yeah, like you said, you feel weak. Have you eaten? Have you exercised? Have you done all the other, and all these are tied in with faith as well, because we have to feel at our best. And then we want to pray more, read more, react to awaken. It's
amazing. It's amazing. Thank you so much, Oyinda, for chatting with us. We loved having you. It was such a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and that is all we have for today's episode of The Heart of the Matter. But please remember to join us on our social media platforms. We are at HOTM TV on Instagram and Facebook, and HOTM channel on YouTube. Please subscribe, follow, like, comment, tell your friends to watch our show. And yeah, that's all we have. See you next time.